is three-dimensional. The first level is where you're dealing with individual transformation, individual needs, individual ministry. You're dealing with individuals, people's needs. The second level is community, church. Then something beyond church, it could be community or organizational transformation. So the needs you're addressing is just beyond what individuals need to what a community needs. The third level is where you are dealing with national transformation, or you are dealing with needs of a whole nation, or you are even addressing the need of the world. Beyond seeking to help individuals, I develop ministry on a higher level, which is to benefit a whole community of believers. And then of course the highest level of ministry is not the man that saved a soul or healed a sick person, is the man that saved a nation or transformed a nation.
Welcome to Harvest Time TV, where faith meets the fields of harvest. As we gather in prayer, we are reminded that the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Join us on this journey of faith as we cultivate hope, we sow seed of prayer, and we reap an harvest of blessings. Get ready to be inspired, uplifted, and transformed by the power of prayer. Let's pray together, believing that God will bring in the harvest. Subscribe to Harvest Time TV and join the harvest.
It's three-dimensional. The first level is where you're dealing with individual transformation, individual needs, individual ministry. You're dealing with individuals, people's needs. The second level is community, church. Then something beyond church, it could be community or organizational transformation. So the needs you're addressing is just beyond what individuals need to what a community needs. The third level is where you are dealing with national transformation, or you are dealing with needs of a whole nation, or you are even addressing the need of the world. Beyond seeking to help individuals, I develop ministry on a higher level, which is to benefit a whole community of believers. And then of course the highest level of ministry is not the man that saved a soul or healed a sick person, is the man that saved a nation or transformed a nation. It's easier to cast demons out of an individual who has a problem. Can you cast a demon that is troubling Nigeria? If the church in Nigeria does not mature to be able to save and transform this country, we did not reach our capacity in God. So usually you notice that this is the pattern. God calls a man, Abraham. The next thing, he gets a community out of that man, the people of Israel. Then he now walks through Abraham and those people to reach all the nations of the earth. The ultimate goal in the calling of Abraham is that through you, all the families, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. Israel is a means to an end. Israel is not the end of the program. Church is not the end of the program. The kingdom is. So this program is you, the church, and the kingdom. And at the kingdom level, we're dealing with a bigger picture. And that level of understanding is one of the issues we are facing in the church world in Nigeria. Our understanding, majority of the people are still trapped with their own problems, with their own needs. A few have understood the purpose for the community, the church. Then maybe less than 1%, if we even have up to 2% in Nigeria, that understand the kingdom dimension to the equation. Because if we do understand that third dimension, then we understand that the body of Christ in Nigeria is one. The sons of the bondwoman cannot be ruling us for years when we have over 120 million Christians. You don't know what is causing the problem? The church, the dimension we call church, have become a dividing wall. So denominationalism and my own little empires will not allow us unite our resources to deal with bigger issues. Let me just give you a small example. Our brothers in the north are dying, they are being killed. Just last year, statistics have come out that over 5,000 pastors have been massacred and their wives are widows. So when I returned from abroad this end of this year, and I had an audience for 2 days with northern missionaries, many that have lost their life. I had direct audience. I hosted them. Let me keep a lot of information. There are things I heard in that meeting that broke my heart. You can imagine, particularly an organization that had their church building, their mission center, their training center, like a Bible school. These guys, after running over the whole society, turns that mission center to a terrorist camp. So when they finish kidnapping another, that's where they keep the victims before they march, and they will be there negotiating for. And then the Christian missionaries are there. So I asked, what are you people doing when you are there? He said, all of us that are allowed to stay alive have to be paying tax. Then we are allowed to stay in the community. You farm, but the farm produce belongs to them. They only allow you little to be eaten, so you don't die, because you're working for them. Then your wife, I want you to see this. This is the one I had. I broke that. I didn't know when I started crying. Your wife and your daughters are their sex slaves. When they go out after operating, of course they have those who are in the camp guarding the place. The ones who go to operate, who do all the things in the forest, when they return, your wife must be ready for them. They do whatever they like with her. Your daughters, including the ones that have not finished maturing. And one of them cried. He was crying when he was talking. He said, okay, sometimes I wish they even killed me when they killed my colleagues, because now I'm alive, they preserve me, but every day I watch my wife and my two daughters being abused. Now let me tell you, I left that place. I went to meet our leaders. I said, to help this man, and there are many things we're going to do, because I asked them how to help. I didn't know how to help. They mentioned certain things. One of the things they mentioned is that they need schools in safe places. Apostle, they need schools, territories that are safe, not the battlefront. And why are they asking for the schools? So that their daughters and children can at least live and go and get healthy education. Because right there again, they are being discipled as, after witnessing their parents' kid, witnessing all the atrocity, being abused like a young girl. You are still 13, you are still 14. Now the next thing again is that you have to be forced to go through a type of education and not bringing that if you are going to go to school at all, because many of them are there not going to school. So okay, 5,000 missionaries have died, their wives are widows, and many of them, if they are living in these territories that are occupied, those wives are sex slaves. Now the children can have. That was when I told our people, the first budget we make every year, these people must get their money before we can spend it on any other thing every year. And we're going to do it by 2030. We do a revaluation and know what else. Do you know, just that thing that we didn't announce it on TV, we didn't say anything. This January, a gentleman heard it. I don't know how he heard it. I don't know him before. He said, I heard that you decided to put other people's burden. Because it's not your own pastors. We're not even talking about our own pastors in that territory. We have pastors there, and we have our own budget for them. That you took burden of what does not concern you. This gentleman said, I'm a businessman. Now I'm also going to take burden of what I don't want you to spend a kobo on this. The budget, I'm going to write it off just to address issues in the north without asking him for it. Now there are wells. The smallest level is at the individual level. Why you are focusing on yourself, everything business, me. There is a bigger wealth when you start thinking about your church and the community. There are a lot of needs. Can you imagine certain people that will say, Pastor Poch, what is the budget this year for this, for Wolfberg, for the one that is coming, for the platform, for all that? Every year I want to be one of the person that write off this. Because at that moment you are investing in your community. You are part of a community, just like the organs in your body, a part of a body. You as an individual that is saved is placed to be part of a community. God sets the solitary in families. Now there is a dimension of wealth God will open up for you when your vision goes beyond you. But the highest level of wealth comes when you start solving national problems. You see, all the things we're complaining about here in Nigeria are opportunities. The need for a church is strong. I want to see the impact that church is making in the society. I gave the example of the North now, because those schools, and as we are ending the fast this January, the construction starts, and there are a team of missionaries who were put together as a board in one place. I want to see what they will produce by the end of this year, and then I watch those children go through school, get sound education, as well as have their faith preserved and prepared for the next generation. you don't know the type of reward, what that means to me. So the country has three problems: the pilot or pilots, the plane, and the passengers. So we have governance, leadership issues. We have system and institutional issues, problems, institutions that are not working like they should. And we have the problem coming from citizens. The kidnapping, the ritual murders, the armed robbery, most of the things that are going wrong. Is it the government doing it? Yeah, there are some challenges with a pilot. But if you have a very good pilot and you give him a rickety aircraft system, you have a broken down aircraft, how far can he go? But if you have a good airplane, brand new one, and the pilot doesn't know what he's doing, how far can we go with that? But if you look at these three problems, I can even break them down into two segments. Both the pilot and the people and the passengers are people. So 70% of the problem are people problem. About 25 to 30% are system problem. And if you want to go further, who runs our systems? Who is in charge of Ministry of Education? Who is in charge of our customs? Who is in charge of our military? According to the divine blueprint, if you solve the people problem, the people will now solve the system problem. This is how God said it in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. Let us make man in our image and let them have dominion over the earth. God said, I will create and fix the human being. The human being will fix his society and fix the world. And that was why when the system collapsed and man fell, he came and died for man, and then commissioned man to advance the kingdom. I want you to watch. The kingdom is the system of God. He came and redeemed you and I and gave us the commission to now advance the kingdom. He didn't die for the oil sector. He did not die for the educational sector. He did not die for the economy. He died for you, because you are the real treasure, the ultimate treasure there is on earth. So this human development thing, if you look at the model the Father gave in Genesis chapter 1, is a very simple model. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion. He gave a three-dimensional model. But then I noticed that in verse 29, he added the fourth to make it complete. He dealt with the body, because what he did was the heart, the head, and the hands. He said be, do, and have. And I like the having part. That's where prosperity is. I like the having part. That's where dominion is. From financial dominion, professional dominion, intellectual, and other realms of dominion. That's where power is. I like it. That's where authority is. That's where influence is. But you are not going to get to having till you become, and you start doing. That automatically now shows me how to organize our training system as a church, family development, human development program for the children in the house. And if I'm doing a mentorship program, I know what to do with those proteges. That the building of a human being has to cover three dimensions. So I said to the Lord, okay, let's deal with being. Be like what? He said, they are to become like me. And since Adam messed up the program, God sent a second Adam to show us what we are to be like. Jesus is the model God gave us for what we can be, for what we can do, and for what we can have. I already know about the having, because the Nigerian church likes to focus on prosperity and the having and all of that. So sitting on that, the host, I have learned a lot about having. all that my Father has is mine. That's what Jesus said. So me too, I said all that Jesus has is mine, because we are joint heirs with Christ. Not half, not one quarter. Anything that is his is mine. All things are yours. But I noticed that a lot of work was not done on the being, and to some level on the doing. The failure of modern church right now in Nigeria is more on the being. Because when we look at our products, what this factory is producing, the human beings are far from looking like Jesus. Our calling is to produce men that look like Christ, that behave like him, that act like him, that can do what he did. But let me tell you, our being is not just identity. Our being, the first foundation, the first work you do is spiritual and moral development. So what has happened is that we now do spiritual development. We get people who can function by faith, people who can cast out devils, people who can exercise authority, but character is zero. But Jesus was both. I pastored for 7 years in Enugu. Something was going on in that place. The governor one day was in my office. He said, there's something going on. All my commissioners, every time they're discussing your church, because everybody that wants to marry said there is one place you can get good wives, reliable women to marry. Go to Dr. Ogbueli, because we created a school of Esther, a school to groom young girls for marriage. Do you know, at one time the whole government house was at the palm of my hand. Their wives. The governor told me, he said, you're a dangerous man, so we have to keep you. He gives us land, he gives us budget, he gives us whatever. One day, if I woke up one January, they took me to where they built a new estate and said, choose the best building before we start selling. It's estate developed for ourselves. I picked the best one, even though I didn't want to live there because it was too central. I like a quiet life, but I still picked. Do you know how that came about? I didn't know the man. Ladies that were trained. How come now this factory is producing prostitutes? Women that can't sit at home, women that their husband cannot trust, women that before you turn like this, he has collected here. What is going on? You think he's not teaching people to speak in tongues, teaching people to exercise the spiritual authority? We have to go back to our core assignment. We cannot change the ancient landmark. The church is a factory that produces good people, men of integrity, and people that are reliable, people that can be counted upon. Now let me tell you another thing that was happening beginning of the year like this. Banks will write me, other corporate organization will write me, give us your men, because we built a leadership school. They said, we have found that by experience that your men are trustworthy and reliable. What they don't have in some cases might be competence. And I took that as an indictment, because at that time we were not dealing with that. They said that, but give us, we will train them, we know what to do to them, we have our own training mechanism, we know where to send them, we'll send them to FBS, send them to this and that. One day, that's how I started getting invitation. A nearby state, a governor invites me, and he said, I want you to come and address my state executive. He had the judges, he had all of them, and his introductory speech or introduction speech, he said, the reason I invited you is that the best performing local government chairman and commissioner I have here are from your church. He said there is a local government chairman that has given his local government electricity. He's sending children from that place to abroad. He has repaired the schools. And he said, I hope you know, Doc, that we the governors control their resources. We take majority of it. The little we leave for him, instead of doing like others. That's what he's using to do all this. So I called him. I said, what is going on? He told me, this is what we are taught in our church, and we went through a leadership school. We are taught this way. So the man said, please come and teach all my commissioners and everybody. That's my first political assignment. You cannot find a governor I'm mentoring, I'm consulting for, that is not a high performer. Of course, it was only one that almost destroyed my record, because I give them oath. Apart from this one, government gives them. If you are serious about service to your people, then you have me. I'll come and help you. Not interested in your money. But of course, if you sow, when the results start coming, they will bring the money big and kneel down. There's one, when I walk into his office, he's flat on the floor. And that part of the country, they don't kneel down or lie down for anybody. Is where they greet a king with his. Then, because the bank said your people are good, they are loyal, they are faithful, they are diligent, not competent. It was a big indictment, and I didn't know what to do. So now, at that time, what we are producing is good people, but not competent. They are trustworthy, but weak in delivering results. Which one is better? To have a competent person, but he is a criminal. Very intelligent, very wise, but he can sell you and sell your company. What you have created by doing that is producing an intelligent demon. An intelligent demon. On the other hand, you produce an angel, an incompetent angel. You produce good people, they can't get the job done. Which one is better to hire? Both of them are problems. That was when I knew that the pastor himself needed to grow. It's the level I knew I was teaching. I had to expand my world. I started going for training to expand my understanding, because the dimension that is weak is the likeness of God, the functionalities of God, how God creates results, the wisdom of God, and then somewhere along the line the two balance. So now I can fly with two wings.